Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Surviving UX podcast. I'm Jessamine Edwards, and I'm here with my co-host and co-buddy, Meg Kramer. Hey, Meg, how you doing?
Hey, Jessamine, I am still hanging in there, still surviving. How are
Good.
you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. We had performance reviews this week at work, so I got some performance feedback that I've been
hmm
mulling around,
are you
and
at liberty to share with us?
I will share it. I will share it. It was
Okay.
good. It wasn't cruel or anything, but I thought
Uh-huh.
whoever wrote this is like been thinking about me and thinking these thoughts and didn't say anything to me ever. And I am always kind of like, why
Ooh.
wouldn't they just tell me? But
hmm It's like
one
peer review, like blind peer review.
yeah, it's anonymous. It's anonymous feedback. And
Anonymous.
basically this person wrote that I needed to have more direct and difficult conversations with my direct reports because I was stepping in for them too much
Hmm.
and that I needed to do some manager training. And I thought, whoa, I thought I was helping. But I mean, I guess fair's fair, So it made me really think about
Do
is a
you
good
think that
manager. Yeah, go ahead.
that is emblematic of like culture at a company? Do you think it would be different advice if it was a different at different companies, just generally, hypothetically? Or do you think that this is kind of a
It was
truth
probably,
for
when I
all
think about it, I'm
managers?
like, it was probably annoying for whoever wrote this feedback, right? They're on a call, they have a designer they're working with. For whatever reason, something isn't going great. And then all of a sudden now there's two designers on the call. There's their designer and then there's me. And I'm like, hey guys, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
here to help, blah, blah, blah. And I'm taking
Mm-hmm.
over and doing stuff. And now they're not dealing with one person, they're dealing with two people. And they're
Oh,
probably like,
uh,
can we just go back to having one designer, please? And I'm just
because
thinking,
why?
well, I mean, right.
I
There
could
was a
come up with
reason,
some
right? There was
reasons.
a reason at the time. But I'm thinking like this is like a good manager, right? Is a good manager going to step in and step over somebody? Or is a good manager going to be like, let me just, coach you from the sidelines while you navigate these ridiculously tricky waters? And
Right.
especially when you're dealing with someone who's new or, new to the team or new to the domain, and they're just like,
Absolutely.
huh,
Yeah.
what is going on? But
I
excuses.
agree to most of that. And I would say my thoughts on this are to see what the employee is comfortable with or what the employee prefers. Like, I get questions sometimes, like, I've had a million different managers, and, some of the good ones will give you a little form to fill out um, and say, give them ideas about how you work and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes they'll ask, like, how do you want to be coached? Like, what is
Mm,
your style? Because some people think one thing is micromanagement, and some other people think like, no, this is like the hand holding that like I like hand holding in this case isn't a negative thing for me. I am in tricky waters. I am being beat up in these meetings. Like, please
yeah,
come to
please
these
come and help
meetings
me.
with me.
Where
And
are
if somebody
you?
doesn't know that you can ask for help to come in, where am I on that spectrum?
The hand
It
holding
definitely
scale.
matters. Yeah, no, it definitely matters. I think how familiar you are with the people you work with and the domain that you're in, or at least it does for me. I currently am asking for a little bit more hand holding and a few more extra check-ins before I go and do some big things in front of people because I feel kind of like I'm a little out of practice and it would be good, and I don't have as much knowledge about the types of people that are going to be in this meeting. And so I think that I welcome that kind of stuff because the situation is the right one for that. And I yeah, I don't mind it. I also think like when you were talking about the person, a hypothetical scenario where somebody doesn't want two designers on a call, it's like that kind of makes me feel like, oh, they don't want to see more of a push from design where design can have more weight in a conversation because we can often be like talked over or kind of put in a box. And especially if there's not more than one of us. And in the past, I have absolutely asked for another person to just even be in a meeting with me to be like, I just kind of need another
Hmm.
presence here that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like from UX or from the design team to kind of have a united front together. Although I would do that with other things too. If me and a PM were, you know, uh, doing something, I might also want them there just,
Mm.
to have another buddy, another person that's kind of like if the situation's adversarial or contentious, like to just have another person that's kind of like gonna be a cheerleader maybe for
Yeah.
your agenda. So yeah, that's
Gosh,
kind of where I sit.
you're sending me back to a memory from a few unpleasant years ago where I had a PM that I was not working well with. And my manager at the time came to one of my design reviews with this PM to sort of observe, because
Hmm.
he'd heard bad things from both sides, basically. And after the call, he's like, seems fine to me. And I was like, yes, like it's not me, it's them.
Hmm.
Um, and it was very
Sometimes you do need
vindicating.
another, yeah, sometimes you do need just another perspective too, and
Yes. Be like,
not
am I
by like
crazy?
the alternate perspective, but yeah,
Right.
like, am I crazy? Is this really going on?
Is it me or is it this person that they're nuts? I've
Yeah.
had that happen a couple times in life, and I'm actually now even zooming back further in my memory where this was even before design, and I had a manager come out. This was when I was in Peace Corps, and they came to my site, and they met my counterpart, and they were like, I don't like that guy. And I'm like, you don't like
Hmm.
him either? I don't like him, he's creepy. But
Hmm.
and they were like, yeah, he's creepy. And I'm like, oh, it was like,
You know, yeah, that reminds me. I saw you post a picture about Peace Corps the other day, and I was like, I don't think we've ever talked about your Peace Corps time on the podcast. So we need to
don't get me
we need to make an
started.
episode this season about
Uh,
that. We do.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely was like it was a very much like life-changing, game-changing experience that I'm so grateful for. It was so hard, so hard. And yeah, but all
Maybe we
those
should make like a call to any other folks out there who did Peace Corps and are in UX. See
Mhm.
if we can get like a
I have a
little,
coworker. I have a
yeah.
coworker. She did Peace Corps Ukraine
Hmm.
and speaks Ukrainian. And occasionally we'll write some Ukrainian on a whiteboard somewhere, and we're like, what does that say? So, I mean, gosh. So
All
yeah.
right. Well,
Yeah.
that's a future episode. Okay.
Okay.
All you listeners, thanks for coming to our planning meeting.
Yes.
So okay, back to your feedback. Any other
Back.
feedback?
Anyway, what was it?
Any other things going on in the old life
The
with you, work life,
I'm
home
trying to
life?
think what the other one. Oh, the other piece of negative feedback I got was sometimes Jessamine presents lots of design alternatives, which is nice, but we kind of just want to get one and then move forward with it. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, ooh, guilty as charged.
Ooh.
Usually, though, the reason I iterate really heavily, if I do, is because people will be like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I can't get it. I don't understand. So I'm like,
Sure.
okay, well, okay, all right, you don't get it. Let's try something else. And so you end up having to rework it a lot to make people understand. And there's one project I'm thinking of where I really iterated really hard because every damn thing I put in front of somebody, they did not understand. The concept was so, and that's the thing, there's a limit, right? There's a limit. I think that's one of the jobs as a designer is like before you're even like putting the pen to paper, is like, well, how much pain do we want our user to go through today? How many questions do they need to answer? How many decisions do they need to make? How many things do they need to learn? How much jargon do they need to absorb? The answer is like they have a tolerance of, maybe one or two things, but usually the project is like, well, they're going to be doing this, that, and the other. And they're going to be, reading, 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 and clicking, clicking, clicking. And I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but people don't like to do that. And I think there's sometimes where, especially on really technical projects, where it's like, oh, we can't do this, and you can't say that, and it won't work like this, and that won't work. And then, the user's got to figure this out. And I'm just like, are you guys for real? Like, come on. We've got to make something that's palatable to people, right? But a
Hmm.
lot of times it feels like you're like those decisions got made, and then the designers just brought in to sort of like try to smooth over the cracks, and the poor users left having to like scratch their head and squint their eyes and figure out what on earth this is. Anyway, so that's my self-defense kicking in, right? But I thought, okay, you don't want options? Fine. I'll
Now they
give you
just,
one
yeah,
at a
you just
time.
need them in your appendix to be like, nope, I did consider that. I did
Hmm.
consider that kind
Right.
of a thing. Yeah.
So performance review accomplished for this year. Another one in the books. Yeah, thank God it's over. So Meg, how about you? How was your week? How are things going?
Things are going all right. I'm gonna ask you if you have had experiences like this, where I feel like at my job sometimes in this type of role in my past, I get to times where I'll talk about the work that I'm doing or the domain that I'm doing. And I'll basically be told that, and it's not like a design suggestion or design. I'm just like talking about how something works in our system. And I'll basically be told that I'm wrong. And I'm just like, I sit there and I think like, no, I'm right. Like I'm right. And maybe I'll say something again like, well, okay, but I can see this, and I've done a test on our stage environment. And yeah, I just so and then so this kind of thing happens to me. And then maybe like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, whatever, on a totally different day where no one's thinking about me or what I brought up, somebody will be like, "Oh, yeah, 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 the process of how that works, it works like this." And I'll be like, inside,
What?
I'll be like, I knew it. I knew it. I called it
Uh-huh.
out. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I was right. And all I want to do is be like, I was right. I know what I'm talking about. Why don't you believe me? And so my question is it me? Is it the type of person I am? Is it the way that I'm like presenting the information?
Mm.
Or is it the UX role where we don't get to have the kind of the expertise on how things work?
Here's my take on this. Number one, I also love being right to like the detriment of all else. That phrase like you can be happy or you can be right. I'd
Right,
rather be right. I'd
right, than
rather be right
happy.
in pain. And I love like like, oh my God, let's look this up right now and let's settle this. Like, let's look up the documentation. Let's test it right now. We can't move forward until we know how this thing works. And, I love that. I think it's so fun. So I'm all in for that. And I think everybody else is too. Everybody wants to feel like they're the expert and they know. But the other thing is that with software, it almost doesn't matter if you know how it works, it's how you think it works. That's what matters. If
Tell me
you,
more about that.
so like, I'm like, how much should I reveal here? Basically, a couple months ago, I had this experience where we kind of uncovered some erroneous UI that led everyone, nearly everyone, to believe that things worked a certain way. And then, you know, how projects go, meeting after meeting after meeting, back end, front end conversation. And then finally, somebody was like, you know what? It doesn't work that way. This is incorrect. What we have had on our interface for a few years now actually is not correct.
Oh, I see. So what the
And
UI, what the user-facing stuff said was not
it
accurate to
was
how
not
things actually
accurate
work.
for what was going on under the
Yeah.
hood. And I thought, my God, all this time, this has been wrong, 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 right
Yeah.
on, in people's face, and nobody's ever caught it.
Hmm.
It was wild, and we
Jasmine, that
made,
actually happens a lot. Like, I feel
oh,
like that happens all the time in my experience in my past
really?
couple, yeah, in the past years. I feel like, yeah, I feel like you could be describing
Well,
like any
yeah.
month of my career.
Well, and that's the thing, is because people explain it to each other. That,
Uh-huh.
an engineer explains it to a PM explains it to a designer. Designer's like, okay. And they sort of put it together, and we're like, okay, that's how they explained it to me. So I guess that's how it is. And then
Uh-huh.
the user's like, okay. And, that could be happening or it could not be happening. Who knows? But if
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
interface says it's doing it or it looks like it's doing it, then that's all that matters, really. It's not so much what's actually happening. So yeah, that, that really threw me for a loop because like we were talking about loving being right and feeling like the truth.
Hmm.
And this is the truth. The documentation is the truth, but sometimes it's wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it shook me up. Shook me up, rattled my faith, what
In the
little I had.
documentation, in people,
In
in technology.
technology.
Oh, all right. What topics do we have for
Okay,
today?
so I wanted to talk about sick days because I did have to take a sick
Days.
day this week,
All right.
and I was filled with trepidation about my sick day, and I finally took it. And then on top of that, I canceled my train ticket and worked from home the whole week. I feel like a new woman just having one less work day and then working from home instead of having to take the train up and commute.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
is just, I
It's
can't even tell
almost as
you.
if certain situations, the employee is a better employee and more value to the company if certain needs are met. Hmm. That's
I
so fascinating.
I just feel 1,000 times better
Yeah.
this week and more rested. I've had, every night with my family. It feels so good. And it's just, oh, it's been so needed. Um, you're you're remote, right? Have you ever had to do a schlep? Like hey, we're all getting together even though, everybody's remote. Do you have to do those quarterly check-ins or anything like that? Show your face?
I haven't yet. I haven't. And I actually, because there hasn't been anything
In person?
to spur that, it does make me want to do that.
Yes,
But I'm sure once I
exactly.
actually had that on the
Have to do it.
calendar and I was like, oh, I gotta figure out childcare and
Yeah.
all that stuff, I it maybe might change my tune. So, it's
Hmm.
more of I'm longing for something that I don't have at this point.
I watched some coworkers go through that recently where they, flew everybody in for some meeting. And
Hmm.
I just thought, oh, thank God I don't have to. I
Hmm.
did have a twinge of like, oh, I wasn't invited. But then I thought, hold on, wait a
Hmm.
second. I don't have to do it. They have to do it, and I don't have to. Oh, woo, and I thought, gosh. So it was one of those things where I was like, well, I guess it's probably for the best. But
Yeah.
yeah. So it did feel fantastic. I also had a very cool discovery this week that I wanted to share, which is I went into my local community college's campus library and
Mm-hmm.
worked there for a day. And
Hmm.
that place was an undiscovered gem. Have you ever
Oh,
worked from the library? Like, do you ever, since you work from home, like, do you ever work out and about in town? Like,
sometimes. And I feel like I've told this story on here before, but I'll tell it uh again, is that the before we had air conditioning, there would be like a couple weeks out of the year that would be very, very hot. And the person that I live with, my partner slash spouse, is very irritable during those times.
ouch.
And so
Aren't
I
we all?
said, you have to go to the library where there's air conditioning at work, or I may kill you. So,
Yes,
yes,
smart
I know
move,
of
smart
this
move.
as a wonderful option for some creature comforts that you may not get at home.
It was so good because, and I never do this hardly ever, but um, the baby's usually crying on the other side of the door, and
Hmm.
my husband actually has taken the changing table and pushed it up against the bottom of the stairs to block him from climbing the stairs to come
Oh,
up and knock on the door and
oh my
cry.
goodness.
And when I come down for like lunch or I want a snack or something, I have to shove the changing table out of the way and climb over it to get out. So that's like what working at home looks like for me.
We have a very mobile changing table. Like it actually has wheels on it. And so
Oh,
at first
what?
at
Oh
first
my
I was imagining
gosh.
that. And I was like, oh, well, Chad just moves that thing around all day. But now I'm
No,
realizing it might be a like straight up piece of
it's a
furniture that you're
piece of
talking
heavy
about.
piece of furniture, wooden furniture. And it weighs a bit and you have to shove it. But yeah. So yeah, it's in terms of distractions, I am so distractible that it's actually a good thing that he does that. If he could lock me in this room and seal the door, I think he would,
Hmm.
just so that, I think wrangling the kids, even though I'm locked
Yeah.
in this room, in this, little room, the fact that I'm at home, it, irritates the kids or makes them, I don't know, they know that I'm here. And then he's got to do the work of
Right.
keeping them away from me.
I
So,
feel
yeah.
like I have been locking myself in this room
Mm.
because of that situation. And recently, my child started daycare, and now I get to be in other parts of my house, and it
Yes.
is amazing. Like I sat on the couch yesterday.
Whoa.
It was awesome. So
Wow.
I'm sorry to tell you that,
Just
but
waving that
at
in my
least
face, huh? Yeah.
I can give you validation that the feeling of being trapped in your room while the rest of the household is going about their household stuff, like very real, very real.
Very trapped.
So, yeah. And actually, this is perhaps in many years the very first time that I am recording this podcast without anyone in my home
Oh, wow.
besides myself and the cats.
Nice.
Yeah,
Total
crazy,
silence.
crazy.
That is
So,
crazy.
yeah.
Oh, lovely. Getting older, kids. Um, my our next topic, Meg, is
Mhm.
actually UX related. It is around persuasion and UX. I recently attended a lightning talk at work where someone brought up this book. It's called Influence: Science and Practice by Robert Cialdini. And ever since I listened to that talk, I have been
Mhm.
thinking about this book and the
Ooh.
terms that I learned, and I have become like a total marketing skeptic. And I have
Oh.
been like seeing these things out in the world, left, right, and center, and being like, they're just trying to get my money. But basically, this book is about like it's called compliance techniques, and it talks about these like principles that make people want things or do things.
Mm-hmm.
And the principles are reciprocation or like gift giving,
Mm-hmm.
consistency, social proof, liking or belonging, authority, and scarcity. And the
Mm-hmm.
ones that like really stuck with me were social proof, like other shoppers are looking at this now, or 10
Mm-hmm.
other
Mm-hmm.
people have bought this hotel room,
Mm-hmm.
or
You've seen that pop up a lot more
people
these
like
days on
you.
sites.
Yes, people like you have done this. And
Mm-hmm.
the urgency, scarcity of like
Mm-hmm.
only 5 minutes left or limited time offer. And it has just, I feel like it has opened my eyes to the marketing messages that we're surrounded by all the time, commercials, everything. Suddenly it makes sense, like in a different way, where I'm like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, they're just trying to get money. They're trying to pry money out of my hands by making me think that if I don't act, then I don't belong to the group or I'm not this
Mm-hmm.
type of person.
Are there
Or,
any
yeah,
ones you're willing to give into, like any brands or any thing that you are like, yep, I am all in. Whatever they're putting out there, it's working on me.
usually comfortable footwear, I would say. That's the one thing where I'm like,
Yeah.
absolutely yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I've been like, like if I hear an ad, I think last night my daughter was like, "Mommy, they said limited time only for this." And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"That's called scarcity, honey. They're just trying to manufacture feelings and try to get you to, give up your money."
Uh-huh.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna drill this into my kids that
Mm-hmm.
these messages are to be they are crafted. There's nothing organic about them. They are totally artificially crafted to
Mm-hmm.
make you do things. And I think the reason this is pertinent to us in UX is, um, I read recently there's these shopping sites called Temu and Shein or whatever, and all they are is basically just like really, really gamified, weird, colorful, crazy,
Mm-hmm.
click happy sites with cheap crap that
Yeah.
people are going crazy for. And they're giving bigger brands a run for their money. So have you shopped on any of these types of sites, or like seen these techniques out in the wild? They're just very in your face, like, you know.
Yeah, I was shopping for something and I ended up on Temu for that product. Like I didn't go there directly, but I was looking for something and then I was like, "Oh, great price." And I went there. And then I don't know if this is true for every experience they have, but they were like, "Oh, you can only get this price if you download the app," which is a way to get me to download the app, which I'm sure they're wanting people to do for
Uh-huh.
whatever reason that they want people to do that. Um, and uh, uh, and I was like, well, of course I'm not doing that. That's that's a garbage technique right there, and I'm not
Mm.
going to download something I don't need. Um,
Was the price
and
difference that significant?
it was, but then it made me question like what else am I selling? Like
Hmm.
or what else are if anybody's giving you a dramatic discount or giving you something for free, as a lot of people
Uh-huh.
say, like you are giving them something else other than money, like your personal data or something else that they want, you know? And
Mm.
so I abandoned at that point, and I'm not even quite sure what
Interesting.
I was doing. Um, the ones that really like convince me are when free shipping is just a little bit more. I don't know which category that
Mm.
would be in
Mm-hmm.
of these categories, but I'm like, sure, I'll put one more thing in my cart. Like I
Oh
did
yeah,
that.
that
I
works on
did
me
that this
every
week.
time. Every time. I'm
Um,
such a sucker for that.
yeah. I'm
Oh.
like, what else do I need right now? And then
Mm-hmm.
this week I was buying shoes for my kid, and then I put something else in my cart, and then I was like, but also socks? Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And then it was more than that. or it was
Yeah, you met the
it was
threshold.
I had met and then exceeded the thing. So that really worked. Really worked on me.
Yeah, and you feel smart. You feel like, oh, I did it. I
Yeah, yeah.
unlocked the gift.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so when you were talking about this as like a topic for our discussion, I was like, oh, that reminds me of when I thought when I was introduced to like concepts of persuasion way back in the old days of grad school. And so I pulled up the author I was thinking about, which was BJ Fogg. And this and I think that whole thing really dates me. Um, but I was doing a little like walk back memory lane on that. And that, like, I think there were ideas around technology being used to persuade people for good, for
Yeah.
like getting
Positive.
them to quit smoking or, essentially like a lot of educational things where you're trying to help kids learn or things like that are use certain types of techniques like that. And it's like because it's behavior change and really, I mean, this is like uh very much so the other end of the spectrum from that. And I'm not saying that his work didn't touch on the negative side of it. It's just that it's interesting where we start from in a lot of ways in terms of thinking there's like a utopia out there, and where we end up.
Mm, I like that. Yes, heaven is on the other side. Just click right here. Well, Meg, I think we're at time
Oh
for
my
this
goodness.
episode, but it was so good to chat. And friends, listeners, if you need advice or just sympathy for your UX career, please write to us at survivingux@gmail.com. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Surviving UX is hosted and edited by Jessamine Edwards and Meg Kramer. Our theme music is, among other things, the on-hold music for Cisco Phones, Opus Number 1 by Tim Carlton and Derek Deal. We will catch you on our next episode, and until then, we will be deliberating whether we want to be right or be happy, ensuring that we will be neither.